Tonight, cedi strengthens in value by almost 3% to the dollar as $1 is going for 12 cedis 60 pesos. Oil exploration firms in Ghana warn current regulatory environment threatens fresh investment in the sector and could push some companies out of business.
It is a matter of deciding that, no, this is what you want to do instead. Go ahead. In the end, the market will tell you. Either you will get investors coming in and working on those new terms that you want, or you will notice that nobody comes at all.
We will be engaging an energy strategist on this. Ghana Mine Workers Union gives Sanon Asogli Power Limited a 24-hour ultimatum to reinstate over 60 sacked workers, accusing the company of interference and disrespect to national institutions. Grateful for your company. I am Pious Kojo Backah. On to our very first story. The Ghana cedi has strengthened in value by almost 3% to the US dollar this week. This is coming after it depreciated by nearly 2% last week. The local currency is now going for 12 cedis 60 pesos to 1 American greenback in the retail or forex market. It has also gained some value against the pound and euro respectively. Now, checks by Joy Business at some forex bureau indicates that the cedi's recovery began midweek, with some analysts attributing it to improved dollar supply. Again, the suspension of the external debt service appears to have eased the pressure on foreign exchange supply, as the country is no longer servicing most of its external debt. Meanwhile, the year-to-date loss of the cedi to the dollar is about 18%. Oil exploration firms in the country are warning that the current regulatory environment threatens fresh investment and could push some firms out of business. It follows moves by government not to renew oil exploration licenses for fresh drillings and taxes paid by these companies. David Ampofo is Chief Executive of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber.
Have to approach these things win-win. There cannot be a loser. You cannot approach it as though what is good for industry is good for government. What is good for government must be good for industry. If you don't do that, you are in trouble. So I don't in any way think that's the case. I think we must be very careful with those things, that we don't end up sort of making ourselves the most unattractive place in the world. Otherwise, as I say, do it yourself. If you think that somebody who's coming for you is cheating, you're there by force. Ultimately, what you do is that you must make those decisions. So when you make a decision to bring people in to help you do something, you respect the agreements you come to, and you get on with it, and you work with them. But let's be careful. You know, one of the things that worries me is when I hear this discussion is, if you really, and I don't want to get into that now, but examine even the agreements that you have, you will be surprised to discover that to say you're cheated is really to miss the mark. I mean, first of all, when you share revenue, remember that as a government, apart from everything, after you've taken your royalty, whatever it is, however small you may say it is, in the end, it is government that can levy tax. So even if you were a company and it was 100 cedis and we agreed that I take 10 and you take 90, I take my 10, you take your 90. By the time you finish taking your 90, I can come back to you and say 30% tax on your 90. I understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So government has certain privileges by just being government. But every investor here has GNPC as a partner. I think we forget that. GNPC is a partner to all the
exploration firms.
All the exploration firms. It's got a share in there, it works with them. And so we have to understand the concept of partnership. Okay, you cannot make progress if your approach is that, you know, somebody somewhere is cheating you. I mean, business is business. Everybody's looking for the best. There's no doubt about it.
And therefore, you are looking for the best.
And you to look for the best. That's it. Find good people also who know what they are about, so that when you engage in coming to an agreement, you get the best out of it also. Then and it's a win-win. You don't sort of.
So do I get from you that you don't buy the argument, the school of thought, the civil society groups, those who are pushing that? Listen, review all the agreements with all the exploration
No,
firms now.
I don't even, when I hear it, I cannot believe it. It's so, I mean, how can
We are
you
not,
say?
I mean, in UK, they are pushing for
Yeah, but-
certain
but-
levies on
but-
these exploration from
but-
looking at the
yeah.
quantum of profits you're making, windfall tax and all the rest. It just makes sense that what is happening right now, let's review this. I get from you that, no, George, hold on there.
Yeah,
We should be careful.
Yeah, you have to be in the position to do certain things. Hear that very carefully. You really have to be in the position to. The market always dictates it. If really it is a matter of deciding that, no, this is what you want to do instead, go ahead. In the end, the market will tell you. Either you will get investors coming in and working on those new terms that you want, or you will notice that nobody comes at all. And remember, we are dealing with an asset that is not there forever. You are here with me and we are going through an energy transition. The thing that worries me is the risk that if Ghana is not careful, it can end up with what we call stranded assets.
David Ampofo with that interaction with my colleague George Yafit there. Now, let's expand this discussion further, and we are joined by energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleiman to give us a better appreciation of this. Grateful, Mr. Yusuf Suleiman, you could join us on Business Live. Now, what do you make of this current concerns being raised by oil exploration firms on the current regulatory environment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Pious, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yeah, so I've listened to the banter between the Amplify and the, yes, and it was an excellent one. The encounter was quite excellent. So a lot of the points that raised were just legitimate, if I may put it that way. Yeah, so let me paint the international perspective of it.
Go ahead.
If you look at what is happening globally, Pious, investment in the world of hydrocarbon has dwindled. There's so much constraint into the investment to the world of hydrocarbon. And where we came from, it's not surprising because after COVID, pre-COVID era, and what I can tell you, what I'll tell you for you to get this clear. Before COVID, we were having about oil price around, let's say, $65, per barrel. And we had so much investment poured into the world of hydrocarbon, especially the upstream. Oil price around the 80s, yet we don't have that quantum investment that we had before. So that means that there's a problem. And what's the problem here? So it's a global thing that Ghana is also being, hit with, But of course, if you have global events, you also need to tweak your local capability, your local strategies to be able to withstand that. And why I'm saying that, because if you look at, he mentioned one clear thing that that's what I want to prolong. I mean, that's what I want to expatiate on. That's energy transition. Yes, there is a spirited campaign, against investment to the world of hydrocarbon, and we cannot hide from that. So what happened was that the investment that went away from world of hydrocarbon, the champions of renewable energy, they wanted that investment to come into the world of renewables. Some came, some did not come. So we are in between. So there's a kind of dilemma, and that dilemma is that there's a midway. Investors are not sure of where to run to, But as long as oil and gas is still key to energy security, global energy security, I think the higher time we recalibrate and recalculate our strategy, global strategy as a whole, the better. Now, zeroing into what is happening to Ghana. So, looking at all this, it means that if you need funds to invest into your upstream portfolio, you need to make sure that you don't have so much bureaucratic procedures, that will have impact on investors. Yes, Pious, I can tell you that our current portfolio, in terms of our share of oil fields in Ghana, 10%, 15%, and the rest, it's meager. I wish we could have gotten that. But if we have signed to that at this moment in time, then we should make hay while the sun is shining. Whatever investment is coming in, I think they're going to look at how we treat the current investors that are there. So yes, we have to have a win-win situation. It's very important. Investment is constrained. We have to create that enabling environment, to be able to rejuvenate and potentially bring in fresh investment into the fields. Yeah.
Dr. Suleiman, can the current challenge be blamed entirely on government? What about the current developments on the international market?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I talked about. You can't put you can't put the blame entirely on government at the end of the day. But what I'm saying is that, of course, what I just paint is the global challenges that I talked about. So, and government governments of the global space, they don't have much control over that. So it left for the local government or governments of individual countries to create that enabling environment to be able to attract investment. Right now, if you observe what's going on, there's a bit of competition, and that competition is real. We cannot hide from it. Competition into the investment to the world of hydrocarbon and competition into the investment into the world of renewables. That is a fact. Now, what renewable energy lacks now is the ability to be able to have access to global energy security. And when I talk about global energy security, I'm talking about energy affordability, energy dependability, and energy availability. These things, the renewables are not yet able to do that. If you look at the power sector in terms of solar and the rest, some areas renewables are okay. In fact, they are far, far more competitive than the mainstream hydrocarbon or the conventional hydrocarbon. But we are not talking about that, Pious. We are talking about energy that can drive industrialization. It's not there. Renewable cannot do that as we speak now. So to balance that, we need to be able to create enabling environment so that those we have to ensure that they are able to maximize their investment portfolio within our field. That's very important. This field, bear in mind, after a decade, they run out. I mean, they will become depleted. And if they become depleted and we don't replenish by fresh investment, I mean, we're not going to have it good. By now, we should have more than 200,000 barrels of oil production per stream day. But now, as we speak now, we are only doing 140 to 145 after 10 years. That's quite unfortunate. And we need to re-strategize to be able to bring in fresh investment.
Then I guess the insinuation by these upstream or exploration firms that government indirectly is driving them away from some of these oil companies is basically doesn't hold, does it?
Yeah, I can't say entirely it doesn't hold, but it's a mixed bag, So I don't know really, because some of them are complaining, some of them are complaining that they have some bureaucratic procedures that is impacting their ability to run their businesses. And I think you do know what came up with ENI, this unitization issue with ENI and some tax issue with Talu some time ago and stuff like that. These things, we have to streamline them so that we have a win-win situation. At the end of the day, we do have these players involved. In areas where we operate, where the NOCs are very strong, Pious, it is easy for us to use our retained earnings, what we call profit, to be able to reinvest into our field. Right now, the NOC that we have, in this case, GMDC, we are not in that position in terms of financial wherewithal to be able to churn out hydrocarbon independently without these external parties. So yes, a good partnership and well collaboration is required, to be able to make sure that we have a win-win situation. Ghana doesn't lose, and then the current investors that we have, they don't also lose. It's very, very important we do that. Yeah.
Having enumerated these solutions to their concerns, would you say it's too late to deal with the concerns as they've raised? Is it too late?
Not at all. I think it's not too late. First of all, those concerns that are raised, I would have wished that some of them, they are already within the legal space, where some of them are threatening to go to international court of arbitration to resolve these grievances. But the good thing is, I mentioned separately that in Ghana we have a robust regime, a regime where international players can find a conduit, especially when they are not happy. Other areas is not like that. So I think it's a positive thing. But what we need to do, I think, they need to bring business out of international space. So we should have a win-win situation, like I mentioned. Let's bring these things that arbitrations out of international space and solve them. At the end of the day, it is the best interest of the nation and even the NOCs themselves, the IOCs themselves. Because for Talu, I know Ghana is one of their best bets. ENI also, they are not doing bad in Ghana. So I think the high time we collaborate, like I mentioned, to ensure that investment that is dwindling, like I mentioned, the investment to the global space that is dwindling because of this kind of paradigm that are painted. Those that we have, we hold tight to them and make sure that, we maximize their output. It will maximize whatever they can invest. Other than that, of course, it's going to dwindle continuously, and that's not good. We have 3 fields, and we cannot cross 150,000 barrels per stream day after 10 years. That's quite unfortunate. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf Suleiman. He's an energy strategist helping us appreciate development in the upstream sector there. And while longer in the energy space, and Ghana Mine Workers Union is calling on management of the Sanona Sogli Power Limited to, within the next 24 hours, reinstate the over 60 sacked workers for joining the union. The union said failure by the management to heed to this call will result in a massive demonstration by the entire Trades Union Congress. Here is General Secretary of the Mine Workers Union, Abdul Moment Backah.
Decision by the company to terminate three and the local union officers. Some key stakeholders within our economy have intervened, and I must say that the Minister of Labour and Employment has intervened. He actually detailed a high-powered delegation to site yesterday to ensure that Sunan Asogli stays put and that they recognize the fact that the National Labour Commission has given some specific directives, and those directives ought to be complied with. Beyond the minister's intervention, the National Labour Commission has also set a date for parties to appear, which is on the 8th of March, and for the matter to be so decisively dealt with. We are confident in the institution of the National Labour Commission, and we have every confidence that justice will be served. And so we have given this ultimatum mindful of the fact that what the company is currently doing is completely opposed to the directive of the National Labour Commission. And we are minded as a progressive union and a reasonable union for that matter, and also mindful of the consequences of Sunan Asogli and its contribution to the economy of Ghana. We have decided that we will continue to monitor the situation on the ground whilst we prepare ourselves to appear on the 8th. But we will not hesitate, depending on the resistance and the posturing of Sunan Asogli, to lay down our tools completely if they continue to behave in the unruly manner with which they are proceeding with these matters.
All right. So we want to engage the Ghana Trades Union Congress on this position, on this subject matter as well. And we've been joined via Zoom by the Secretary General of the Union, Dr. Yao, for his thoughts. Grateful, Dr. Yao, you could join us on Business Live. Now, has this tussle between the Mine Workers Union and the Sunan Asogli Power come to your attention?
First of all, thank you for having me. I got to know about it last week. But since yesterday, we have been having a series of meetings. And this afternoon, we have had some very good meetings. And so it has come to our attention.
All right. So what is your position on this matter?
Our position is not different from our affiliate, the Ghana Mine Workers Union.
Okay.
All the issues that Momi raised earlier with you, we hold the same position.
All right.
But TUC stands for 23 affiliates. Ghana Mine Workers Union is one of them. So when the thing is scaled up to the TUC level, it means that it is becoming more serious. And so when it gets here and we get involved, it means we scale it up to make sure that nobody is worse off. We always want to make sure the company survives. People think that we always only care about the workers. No. First, if there is no company, there's no work. So we want to make sure the company survives and the company thrives and our employment is not affected.
All right.
At the TUC level, it's a different ballgame.
Okay.
Our position is not very different from what Momin just espoused.
All right. So there's been several arguments, and we are learning that it is not legally binding on Sunan Asogli to allow its employees unionize, as it is a private entity. Do you share that concern?
No, who is saying that? I mean, well, we live in this country, we have a constitution. The constitution allows every Ghanaian, whether you are a manager or an ordinary worker, to form a union or to join a union, whether you are in the private sector or public sector, or even in the informal sector. We have informal sector unions. So whoever is saying that private sector company workers cannot form union is totally wrong. The Constitution gives us that right, and that right can never be compromised.
We do know that come 8th of March, you will be meeting with them. What are we to expect? Are we likely to see an amicable solution being reached at the end of the day?
That's all we all hope for. I am very confident. And as Mumin said, the Minister for Employment was very swift in his reaction to this. And he sent a high-powered delegation to Tema yesterday. And I'm sure with all these efforts, when we meet on the 8th, we should be able to have an amicable solution. We are also doing background things to make sure that this doesn't, at the end of the day, we are talking about the rights of workers within the Constitution of Ghana, within the labor laws, to join or form a union, and nobody can stop them. Nobody can stop them. Not even the president of Ghana can stop workers from forming a union or joining a union. It is our right, and that right we want to exercise. So nobody should play with that right. And we expect everybody to work with us to ensure that Ghanaian workers, especially those who are working under foreign hands, are able to exercise their rights as Ghanaians. This is very, very important, and we are not going to compromise on that.
Okay, so after 8th of March, if it doesn't turn out to be as we are envisaging, or it doesn't turn out to be positive as you and I are envisaging, what becomes the next line of action, especially at a time when there's been several correspondence to Sanon Asogli to comply with the directive?
I can show you the bunch of papers that were submitted to me today by the union. The union has gone through the processes. I know anytime a union goes to National Labour Commission, it's a signal that they don't want to do anything that will affect the company. And as I said, and Mumin also said, we want to make sure Sanon Asogli, thrives and we keep our jobs. We are hoping that perhaps even by the 8th of March, we will have had some amicable solution, given the role the Minister for Employment is playing, given the role the MC in Tema. As I speak to you, the MC in Tema is there, trying to engage management to make sure, even by the 8th of March, our workers will be back at work. Those who have been sacked will be reinstated. And then case die. And then more important, we expect management to create space for them to start working with the union so that there will be sustainable peace at Sanon Asogli. And we respect the rights of employers, and we expect employers to respect our rights.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Yaban, for your time here on Business Live. He's the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress speaking to us there. You're still watching Business Live with me, Pious Kojo Backah. Now, Group Director of Capacity Development at African Guarantee Fund, Patrick Lulumba, has underscored the need to support banks in cushioning the operations of women in small businesses. According to him, there is the need for affordable policy implemented by government to create an enabling environment for women-led businesses. Speaking to Joy Business, he called for more public-private partnership within the financial sector.
Without disaggregation on gender, then it's very difficult to have data to make any decision. So it's a very good step, but more still needs to be done. More needs to be done in terms of enabling the financial institutions in terms of lesser provisioning, probably, so that financial institutions can be aggressive in accessing financing to women-led SMEs. On a broader level, the government itself needs to come up with policies and programs that can enable more women-led SMEs to come to the fore. Because what some of the challenges that commercial banks have is that they indicate that there are no women-led SMEs that they can lend to. So policy environment needs to change so that it's more gender sensitive, gender positive, so that more and more women-led SMEs can come to the fore. Having public-private initiatives.
Soybean is one of the most valuable leguminous crops cultivated both in developed and developing economies. In Ghana, the cultivation of soybean is relatively new. However, its economic importance is gaining wider popularity and common acceptance among farmers in the country, especially those in the northern parts of Ghana. Emma Davis engaged value chain actors at WA in the Upper West region in tomorrow's episode of Food Chain.
Abdullah Usman is a young man who has been in the soya value chain business since he turned 15. He holds a bachelor degree in biotechnology and molecular biology, but Seydou prefers to work with his uncle, who is an off-taker. Seydou shares how soybean is farmed.
So what normally happens is that they do the plowing and the sowing somewhere June. latest by June, July, you are done. Because if you delay, then the rains stop. It's going to be a challenge. So after planting, you wait 3 months, then your soya will be ready for harvesting. You see, at this particular point, we are not seeing soya because you make a mistake and leave soya to dry so much. By the time you get into your field, everything has shattered onto the ground. You have to use a broom to sweep it around, which is not possible. So basically, we do the planting, we wait for it to mature, but as that goes on, agronomic activities are going on. Applying fertilizer, then controlling weeds and all that.
After soya is harvested, the aggregator moves the crop to a warehouse. Production manager for Antika Company Limited, Musa Lukman, explains what happens at a typical warehouse.
Yeah, this is after production. We bring it to the warehouse for storage and onwards process to get your seed.
Okay, so what exactly goes on at the warehouse?
At the warehouse, what happens is that we support farmers to produce the soybeans with the foundation seed. So after the production, then we bring it like this, raw like this. Then we put it and then process it. We bring women here, they will come and take off the chaff, the debris, the broken ones. After which we then package it into the certified seed bags. Then we onwards package it into kilos, like 1 kilo, 5 kilo, 9 kilo, thereabout. Then we then give it out to the farmers. Last year we were having it on the subsidy. The price was, a kilo was 8 cedis last year. So as we go this year, they have to go again. Government will come out with another subsidy price, then we go by it. When the subsidy price is set, you cannot sell above that or even below that.
To ensure that good yields are achieved along the soya value chain, soya seed farmers need to be registered and certified. Musa describes what cuts for a good soya seed.
The certification process starts from the production. Before you can become a seed grower, you have to be registered. So all Antika seed growers have been registered under Antika, under one umbrella. So after which then the seed inspectors will then, we take them to the farms, the various locations, the farm, even we give them their details. Then they will do their certification. In there they will go, we have about 5 types of soybean varieties. We have the Afayak, Janguma, Kwashi, Favor, there are many. So if you are doing Favor, the inspector will go to the farm. He has the characteristics and the look of Favor. So the inspector will go, if he sees any other variety like Janguma in the midst of Favor, then he has to remove it at a certain threshold.
And you can watch the full episode tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the Joy News channel. And that's it for the bulletin. I am Pious Kojo Backah. You can always get business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Always a pleasure serving you. Do enjoy your weekend.